This may have come as a shock, but I'm not a huge movie junkie. As such, I never watched any of the Mad Max movies. Don't get me wrong, I want to someday, because I've always been a fan of that kind of post-apocalyptic environment, hence my love for games like Fallout and Rage. But I usually don't have the patience to sit through a 90 to 120 minute movie by itself. If I'm with friends, not a problem. But that friends requirement is a bit rough in my life. I'm bringing all this up because this week's review is on a game called Outlander. The whole story behind it is that it was supposed to be a Mad Max game, but Mindscape somehow screwed up and forgot to renew the license, since they were the ones who originally had it to publish the Mad Max game on NES. I haven't played that yet, but I heard it was trash. So I wasn't too intent on playing Outlander until I was at my friend Will's house and he showed me it. I knew I had to get it because it was really fun. Outlander has you in the role of a nameless guy known as an Outlander. Basically, a scientist touches down in your area with knowledge on how to gain an infinite water supply, which would seriously improve everyone's life. Only problem is that a bunch of thugs want to talk to him first. Now the Outlander needs to travel on a long, dusty road wrought with hazards to get to the scientist and make sure he doesn't fall into the wrong hands. There's two main gameplay types to Outlander, a driving type and an on-foot part. Most of the game will take place in your vehicle, with on-foot parts being interspersed throughout. I'll talk about the driving first and then the on-foot after that. You may have noticed by now that there are a lot of threats, and nothing is really friendly in this wasteland. And you'd be correct in seeing that. All traffic you encounter are enemies on motorcycles, attempting to either shoot you or throw Molotovs at you. Awesome, right? Add in the occasional hostile helicopter, in which you gotta wonder where they're finding the resources for those, and the frequent blockade, and you're gonna be doing a lot of defensive driving. So here's how it works. You press Y to accelerate and X to brake. Pressing A fires any sort of anti-air missiles that you may have picked up, and B shoots your front-mounted machine gun, provided that you have ammo left. But what about the bandits that try to drive up next to you and perform a drive-by? Simple. Depending on what side the enemy is on, you press L or R to fire that convenient sawn-off shotgun that you keep on you. Again, you need ammo to use it, but you don't want to be too stingy on firing it. So let's say ammo's a bit on the scarcer side, and you're getting surrounded by the enemy riders. What do? Again, that's also simple. See, they're all driving bikes, while you have a few extra tons of power on your side. You can easily ram your opponents to knock them out. This comes at a price though, as each time you hit an enemy with your car, they usually die, but you also take a small bit of damage. So although the option was available, you may want to be careful in using it. As you're driving around, you may see your four-ways pop on and start blinking. This is a hint to stop on the shoulder, as there's a town to explore. This is when the game transitions to the on-foot stages. In these, you can control the Outlander as he scavenges for more supplies, whether it be health, fuel, bullets, shells, or missiles. Some enemies will drop them upon defeat, and other items can be found in boxes and barrels, although punching them will decrease a bit of your health, since punching hard objects typically does hurt. In later levels, some food will be irradiated, actually doing damage instead of healing. But apparently you can get a Geiger counter to help you tell what is safe and what isn't. The level ends once you reach the end of the town where your car awaits. I guess all the cities are complete circles or something, since he always wraps all the way around. Of course, you're not just picking up items, you're also trying to survive. Beefy dudes will come up to you and attempt to knock you out, while chicks will try shooting your face off. My biggest complaint about these enemies is that there isn't a ton of variety to them. Granted, I only got about 4 or 5 of the 24 towns completed, but each town only had these two types. A little bit more of a different crew would have been nice. Actually, there is another type of enemy, the bikers. If you have to stop in between a town because you ran out of gas or just wanted to risk getting more ammo or health, you enter a much shorter but more dangerous on-foot level, which is just length of road. You get the normal enemies, but also the bikers that attempt to run you over or throw grenades at you. There are also mines on the ground that need to be jumped over. These levels should only be entered as a last resort, as every time I tried to get through one, I came out in much worse shape. The main quirk to these segments are the hit detection. It's a struggle to actually punch your enemies. If you can get in the first punch, you'll probably be in good shape, but if the enemy strikes first, then your best bet is to back up a bit and then try again. I also found that crouching and punching enemies in the groins works better than straight headshots. If you're using the shotgun, it really doesn't matter though. And speaking of, the way to dodge the ladies' shotgun blasts is to duck. They must not be too smart if they don't realize they can just aim down to kill you then. Oh well, works out in the Outlander's favor. So let's get back to the highway. One of the things that takes a bit of getting used to is the frame rate. The driving is all done in mode 7, which looks pretty cool, but the game's performance takes a major hit on that front. It does sometimes make dodging threats a bit more stressful, as it's not a fluid, evasive turn, but once you get it down, barricades and thugs will be at your mercy. The other big issue with the game is the music. It's just way too bare bones. There were only 2 tracks I heard, the highway and the on-foot themes. They didn't change sadly, and although they are decent enough, again, more variety would have been preferred. So is Outlander worth playing? It's kind of hard to say. Outlander is a fun yet incredibly challenging game, and it starts off difficult right from the outset, so the players should be warned. You're immediately surrounded by shotgun and Molotov wielding bozos, and they don't hold back. But even with its flaws, I did enjoy the game. I loved the post-apocalyptic world and the scavenging parts, making it feel like those towns are your critical lifeline. But getting to those towns is also very taxing, as you might keep checking the map to see how far you traveled and guessing where those blinkers will pop on. Even so, it's fun to ram your enemy and watch them fall over and explode in your rearview mirror. If you're like me and like this style of game, definitely check it out. But otherwise, you probably won't be your cup of tea. Final score? 7 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.